For college freshman Leo Luo, his new life was supposed to start with orientation, not an interrogation. Arrested on his first day in a new city, he finds himself in a bizarre misunderstanding with the new tenant of his apartment, a beautiful, impossibly aloof senior named Stella. As fate keeps throwing them together, Leo develops a crush on the campus's most unattainable girl, all while confiding his daily struggles to his anonymous online gaming buddy. What he doesn't know is that the girl who had him arrested, the girl he's falling for, and the trusted friend he messages every day are all the same person. How long can she keep the secret before their worlds collide? This was Leo Luo's first time in a police station, and he'd been brought in under arrest. The whole thing was a blur. 1 minute, he was at home, playing a video game. The next, 2 police officers walked in, gently fastened a pair of handcuffs on his wrists, and invited him on a scenic trip to the station in their cruiser. Sitting in the interrogation room, Leo blinked, staring innocently at the young officer across from him. Name: Leo Luo. Gender: male. Occupation: student. Where do you go to school? Jiangxing University. I'm registering tomorrow. The officer gave him a second look. You're a handsome kid. You don't look like the type to get into trouble. He leaned forward. Do you know what you're here for? Leo shook his head vigorously. You don't. The officer eyed him with suspicion. Then why don't you explain why you were breaking and entering? The officer suspected it was a crime of passion. After all, once he'd seen the owner of the apartment, that was the only motive that made sense. The girl was just that beautiful. Breaking and entering? What are you talking about? Leo was completely bewildered. Seeing the genuine confusion in his eyes, the officer was also a bit lost. Why were you in apartment 614, building 5, unit 4 of the faculty housing complex? 614? That's my place. The officer pulled out a file and slammed it on the table. Kid, this is a police station. Confess and you'll get a lighter sentence. Resist and you'll regret it. Now tell me the truth. Why were you in 614? It really is my apartment. Leo was starting to panic. Why did no one believe him? Was his wonderful college life going to end in a jail cell before it even began? The owner of 614 is a professor at Jiangxing University. He rented the apartment to a student. A female student. Not you. Rented? A professor? A light bulb went off in Leo's head. Is that professor's name Mason Gu? Well, you've done your homework. Leo was speechless. Mason Gu is my cousin. The officer paused, then looked back at the file. I'll say it again, this is a police station. Your last name is Luo, his is Gu. Are you seriously trying to lie to the police? Leo thought for a moment. At this time, Mason was probably on a plane with his phone off, which was why the police couldn't reach him. Leo was a new student at Jiangxing University. He'd chosen this school because the girl he'd had a crush on for 3 years of high school had promised she'd date him if he got in. Plus, his older cousin, Mason, was a professor here, which would make life convenient. He never imagined that after dropping him off, Mason would immediately hop on a plane to go pursue a second doctorate abroad. With a day to go before school started, Leo had gone to his cousin's assigned faculty apartment, number 614, which meant his cousin had already rented it out to a girl, and that girl must have come home, heard a noise inside, and quietly slipped out to call the police. The pieces clicked into place. Leo finally understood. Unbelievable. Mason's flight was 6 hours long, which meant he had at least 3 more hours before landing. Leo was stuck here for 3 hours. Soon, an older, more experienced-looking officer walked in. The younger officer stood up, addressing him as chief. Leo was stunned. The chief of the station was here to interrogate him personally? Even though he was innocent, a knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. The chief handed a file to the younger officer, whose expression changed as he read it. It was Leo's file, son of a fallen hero. Both his parents were police officers who had died in the line of duty. He was raised by his aunt, making him Mason Gu's cousin. Though not by blood, they grew up together and were as close as real brothers. No wonder the chief had come himself. Young man, it seems there's been a misunderstanding. No, it's okay, Leo said meekly, not daring to speak up. The chief looked at him with approval. Jiangxing University is a great school. Study hard and serve your country. Leo nodded. He then politely declined the chief's offer to stay the night, accepting only a free dinner before leaving the station. The Jiangxing night air was cool and crisp for September, but Leo's mood was gloomy. School started tomorrow. All the nearby hotels were booked, and he definitely couldn't go back to the faculty apartment. What a mess. He'd traveled over 1,000 miles from the capital to Jiangxing for college, only to get a half-day tour of the local police station and end up with nowhere to sleep. Nice. A perfect start. Just then, a cool breeze rustled the leaves, and a light drizzle began to fall. Leo ducked under a tree and pulled out his phone. He opened his chat with his high school crush and typed out the day's absurd events. But there was no reply. He scrolled through their chat history and sighed. Ever since he told her he'd gotten into Jiangxing University, she'd gone silent. Maybe it was all one-sided from the start. He'd suspected it all along, that she was just giving him a polite excuse to turn him down. If he kept pestering her, he'd just be a fool. The 3 months of summer vacation after graduation had been long, Maybe he didn't even like her anymore. Maybe it was just a lingering feeling of wanting what he couldn't have. He was a college student now. It was time for a new beginning. Man, it really rained a lot in Jiangxing. First things first, he needed to find an internet cafe to spend the night. Leo used his ID to rent a computer at a gaming cafe across the street from the university. It was convenient. He could wake up and head straight to registration. He sat down, opened a web browser, and navigated to an online novel platform. He began to write. He was, in fact, a moderately successful web novelist, writing under the pen name Fallen Leaf. His first romance novel had taken off over the summer, and the royalties he was earning were more than enough to live comfortably. The next day, the light rain continued. It was the first day of the school year at Jiangxing University. Leo went to the faculty housing first. Staring at the door to apartment 614, he knocked gently. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. After a moment's hesitation, he used his key to open the door. His suitcase was still in the living room where he'd left it. On top of it was a note. Sorry, I just recently rented this place. The landlord is already abroad, so when I heard a noise inside, I thought it was a burglar. The handwriting was neat and beautiful. He'd been so focused on his game yesterday, he hadn't even heard someone come in. He supposed he deserved to get arrested. Leo stuffed the note into his bag, grabbed his suitcase, and headed for the university gates. Despite the rain, which was now getting heavier, the campus was bustling. A female upperclassman holding an umbrella approached him. Are you a new student? Let me see your acceptance letter. Leo pulled it from his bag. The student glanced at it. Computer science, Leo Luo. She looked up at his handsome face, her demeanor becoming even more enthusiastic. Come on, freshman, follow me. With her friendly guidance, Leo completed his registration and found his dorm room, room 515 in Building 8. He turned down her invitation for a meal, said goodbye, and walked into his new room. His 3 future roommates hadn't arrived yet. Out-of-town students registered on September 1st, while local students registered on the 2nd, so they'd be here tomorrow. After making his bed, he figured he'd wait for his roommates to arrive before setting up the rest of the room. Suddenly, his phone rang. The caller ID showed Mason Gu. Leo answered. Hey, Leo, I need to tell you something. Don't go to the faculty apartment. I rented it out for the 2 years I'll be abroad. I already went. Yesterday. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then, Mason said, She didn't do anything to you, did she? No, she just got me sent to the police station. Uff, that sounds just like her. Mason chuckled. Listen, Leo, she's one of my students at the university. You'll meet her sooner or later. She's a great girl, just a little hard to get along with. After hanging up, Leo walked to the balcony. A ray of sunlight broke through the clouds. The rain had stopped. Time for a walk. Leo wandered around the Jiangxing University campus. The most magnificent building was, without a doubt, the library. It stood directly opposite the main gate, a true showpiece for the university. At the library entrance, Leo paused, staring at the facial recognition gates. Just then, a tall girl with long, straight black hair and loose-fitting jeans strode past him. Don't ask how he could tell she had long legs and loose jeans. Some things just can't be hidden by clothes. He didn't see her face, but her silhouette alone was enough to spark the imagination. Her hair was slightly damp, and the white laptop bag in her hand was dotted with water. She'd clearly just come in from the rain. Excuse me, miss. Leo called out. The girl turned, her calm gaze landing on him. Are you talking to me? She asked, her voice soft. When Leo saw her face, he was stunned. He'd heard that Jiangxing was famous for its beautiful women, but he never expected to encounter someone so striking on his first day. She wore no makeup, yet she was absolutely gorgeous. Words like stunning and breathtaking felt inadequate. Leo, being shy and not great with words, fumbled. Could you help me? With the gate. The girl blinked, then stepped up to the facial recognition scanner. The electronic gate clicked open. You first. Thanks. Leo walked through like a bashful teenager. The girl watched him, a little surprised. She didn't expect him to actually just need help with the gate. To be honest, he was the 5th freshman who had tried to talk to her today. The first 4 all wanted her number. Stella, why are you walking so fast? Another girl ran up, catching her breath. While not as stunning as the first, she was still very pretty. Her name was Chloe Chin, a 3rd year in the business school and considered one of its top beauties. The girl she was talking to was her best friend, Stella Su, the president of the Jiangxing University Student Council. She was also the university's undisputed #1 beauty, a workaholic known for being an ice queen, and a once-in-a-decade prodigy in the computer science department. There's a lot to do with the new students, Stella said flatly. Speaking of which, what happened with that incident yesterday? Did the burglar get caught? It was a misunderstanding, Stella replied, her expression unchanged. The police had already explained everything to her. Leo stretched and checked the time. He'd been in the library for 2 hours, finishing his writing quota for the day. As he walked out, a light rain had started up again. So this was what the weather was like in the south. He hoped it would rain like this every day during the freshman training period. He headed for the exit, umbrella in hand. Behind him, the beautiful upperclassman who'd helped him at the gate was also leaving. Chloe glanced at Stella, then at the sky outside. The light drizzle was quickly turning into a downpour. Stella, maybe we should wait in the library until the rain stops. No, I need to approve something for the freshman orientation. Stella looked at the rain, unconcerned. Chloe, watch my laptop for me. Hey, Stella, are you really going out in this? Chloe followed her to the library entrance, watching her friends retreating back. Just then, Leo, who had already stepped outside, heard a commotion behind him and turned around. He saw the beautiful senior walking briskly away. The drizzle had transformed into a torrential downpour. The weather in Jiangxing was so unpredictable. Stella shielded her head with her hands, but it was useless against such heavy rain. Water soaked her clothes, causing them to cling to her body and reveal her figure. A figure that was practically criminal. But that wasn't the point. Leo chased after her. Senior. He held his umbrella over Stella's head. Thank you. Stella's personality was a bit cold. She didn't even look at Leo's face. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder echoed through the sky. Stella, who had been rushing, froze in place. Senior. Leo noticed she had stopped moving and looked at her, confused. So, the beautiful senior was afraid of thunder. Sorry, Stella said, her face expressionless. Boom. Another clap of thunder. Stella froze again. The rain intensified, and lightning streaked across the sky. Leo's umbrella wasn't very big, and since Stella was keeping her distance, half of his body was getting drenched. Leo looked at the nearest academic building. Senior, should we take shelter over there? Stella nodded silently, and they walked together under the small umbrella. They stood in the first-floor hallway of the building, a long silence stretching between them. Should he say something? Leo decided to try. So what year are you? Third. Oh, what's your major? Computer science. Oh, senior. Leo pointed to a large tree not far away. That tree looks really sturdy, huh? An awkward silence filled the air. Leo was truly terrible at talking to girls. He was 18 and had never been in a relationship. He snuck a glance at the senior beside him. She looked completely indifferent. Stella felt the awkwardness too, so she chose to remain silent. As for her student council duties, who had time to think about that now? She really should have just waited in the library with Chloe. She was afraid of thunder, but she hadn't expected it to thunder today. The weather forecast hadn't mentioned a thunderstorm. Leo habitually pulled out his phone. He glanced at his chat with his old high school crush, hesitated for a moment, then backed out and opened another chat. The contact name was LovesHotpot. This was someone his cousin Mason had invited to play a game with them once, saying they were a really good player. Leo later found out that they were indeed fantastic, so he added them as a friend. They would play games and chat about their daily lives, becoming good gaming buddies. Since Mason had brought them in, they were probably one of his friends. It was just an online friendship anyway. Leo didn't care about their real identity or name. It was just nice to have someone to talk to. He typed, "You won't believe this, but I'm taking shelter from the rain with a senior who looks like a literal fairy." The next moment, Stella's phone vibrated. She glanced down at the screen. Fallen leaf. "You won't believe this, but I'm taking shelter from the rain with a senior who looks like a literal fairy." Stella was speechless. She turned her head to look at Leo. Then she silently switched her phone to silent mode and replied, "How pretty? Send me a picture." Ping. Leo's phone lit up. He read the message. "Fallen leaf. Isn't it bad to take a secret picture? Loves hot pot. Just find an opportunity. Make sure she doesn't notice." Leo didn't reply. Stella cooperatively turned her head, pretending to look at the scenery outside. A moment later. Fallen leaf. Image, fallen leaf. She's gorgeous, right? Animated emoji. Stella stared at the photo of herself and fell into deep thought. The world was truly full of surprises. She knew the guy she gamed with was Professor Gu's younger cousin. Mason had even told her to look after his cousin before he left the country. But she never, ever expected that her first meeting with him would be under these circumstances. She wasn't ready. Stella felt the situation was getting a little complicated. The rain continued to fall. The thunder rumbled on, and the sky grew darker. A cold wind blew past, and Leo shivered. Suddenly, he seemed to realize something and turned to look at the senior. She was standing in the same position as before, but her body was trembling slightly. A beauty so delicate, it was heartbreaking to see. Leo mentally slapped himself. On such a cold day, after she'd been soaked by the rain, he had just let her stand there and freeze. Without a second thought, he took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. "Thank you." After what felt like an eternity, the thunder faded, and the downpour subsided into a light drizzle. The storm had passed as quickly as it had arrived. Stella said nothing and walked away, her face as impassive as ever. Watching her leave, Leo couldn't help but be captivated. She was about 5'6", and he was 5'10", so his jacket was only slightly large on her. It actually looked quite good. The senior had a great figure and a beautiful face, but her personality was a bit cold. A girl that beautiful must have a boyfriend already, he thought with a sigh. He'd never been in a relationship. He'd had a crush on one girl for 3 years, and during that time, he'd rarely spoken to any other girls. The image of the senior's face replayed in his mind, and his heart fluttered. But he quickly shook his head. It was just a fleeting attraction. Liking someone just because they were pretty after one encounter? That was just being a creep. Leo picked up his umbrella and left the building. He returned to his dorm to find that someone had arrived. A guy about 5'9", with a buzz cut, a sturdy build, and slightly tanned skin, sat up as he entered. Are you my roommate? Hi, I'm Henry Lee, born and raised here in Jiangxing. Hi, I'm Leo Luo, from the capital. The capital? Wow, a big city guy. They exchanged contact info and started chatting. I thought local students weren't supposed to register until tomorrow. How come you're here today? My family lives nearby. I was bored, so I figured I'd bring my stuff to the dorm. Didn't expect it to rain. Leo looked at his slightly damp clothes with a strange expression. Was getting soaked some kind of new trend around here? Noticing his gaze, Henry laughed. I had an umbrella, but I saw a girl getting soaked at the school gate, so I lent it to her. Then he added, and you know what? I thought she was a little kid. She's barely 5 feet tall, but it turns out she's a student here too. I even helped her carry her luggage all the way. Haha, you can't judge a book by its cover. I always thought people from the South were more petite, but you're pretty built, Henry. Henry flexed his arm, showing off his biceps. I work out every day. With a new companion in the dorm, Leo's mood brightened considerably. The next morning, a knock sounded at the door. Leo got up to open it. Hello, a guy, about the same height as Leo and incredibly handsome, stood in the doorway. This guy was stunning. So handsome it was almost shocking. Leo even had the fleeting thought that he was as handsome as himself. An illusion. It had to be an illusion. Are you a celebrity? Leo asked instinctively. The guy laughed. He was used to this kind of reaction. I'm not a celebrity. I'm your roommate. My name is Sean Shun. Behind Sean, a guy about 5'7" with a goofy look on his face followed him in. Hi guys, I'm Dave Wong. The name had a friendly ring to it. Leo immediately threw an arm around Dave's shoulder and pulled him inside. Meanwhile, Henry was still fast asleep, one of his size 10 feet hanging off the bed, emitting a certain aroma. Once Henry woke up, the four of them went to the campus store to buy trash cans and brooms, then headed to the third dining hall. Jiangxing University had 3 dining halls. The first was closest to the men's dorms. So why go to the third? Because the third was closest to the women's dorms. More girls, better scenery. Freshman training starts tomorrow, Dave lamented. What's there to be afraid of? It's good exercise, Henry said, flexing his muscles again, earning eye rolls from the other 3 as they sat down in a corner of the dining hall. Despite their corner table, Sean's ridiculously good looks still attracted a lot of attention. A girl walked over, blushing, and shyly asked, Hi, can I get your number? Sorry, I have a girlfriend, Sean replied with a polite smile. He was clearly an expert at this. The girl left, disappointed. Oh my God, Dave said, full of envy. How come no girls ever ask for my number? You want girls to ask for your number? Henry chimed in. Then you need to work out. Girls inevitably love a man with perfect muscles. By the way, Sean, do you really have a girlfriend? Dave asked, his eyes darting around mischievously. Yes, I have a girlfriend, Sean stated, his tone firm, leaving no room for jokes. Leo glanced at him, but said nothing. After their meal, the 4 of them started chatting. Do you guys know about the beauty rankings here at Jiangxing University? Dave tossed out the question, but the other 3 seemed completely uninterested in women. I don't, Leo said, taking the bait. Dave's eyes lit up. You're a good man, Leo. Every school at this university has its own campus beauty. For example, the business school's beauty is a third-year senior named Chloe Chin. She's ranked 4th on the university's overall list. Chloe Chin? Leo was confused. Why is her last name Chin? It sounds like an instrument. Isn't that a bit of a random name? It's just a name, don't overthink it, Dave said, rolling his eyes. There are pictures of her on the university's online forum. She's seriously gorgeous. Dave pulled out his phone and showed them a photo of Chloe. The first few were from a campus photo shoot. She looked pure and lovely. Even Henry, the muscle-bound gym rat, was drawn in. The last photo was a candid shot of Chloe walking on campus. But another girl had been accidentally captured in the frame. She was only showing her side profile, but you could still see her stunning features. She was tall, and the formal suit she was wearing did little to hide her amazing figure. She was just as beautiful as Chloe, if not more beautiful. That looks like the senior from the other day. Seeing Leo's eyes glued to the screen, Dave snatched his phone back, holding it protectively. Leo, my friend, let's be clear. Chloe is mine. Don't even think about it. Please, as if you have a chance. What did you say? I said you're a perfect match, a match made in heaven, Leo said sarcastically. But I'm curious, who's the girl next to Chloe in the last picture? Hearing this, Dave gave Leo a look of disdain. That's the superstar of our university. Her name is Stella Su, but I'd advise you not to get any ideas. She's a genius in the computer science department. Just the candid photos of her are enough to make her the official campus beauty. Even Chloe Chin looks plain next to her. She's won countless awards, led the computer science department to its current glory, and not only became the student council president, but also secured a guaranteed spot in a graduate program. They say she's incredibly cold. Countless brave souls have confessed their love to her, and not a single one has ever succeeded. So, don't even dream about it. A goddess like that is completely out of our league. At this, both Sean and Henry looked surprised. Wow, that senior is amazing. Truly impressive. Leo fell into thought. The senior he met the other day was that accomplished? And she didn't have a boyfriend. The thought echoed in his mind. Among us freshmen, there's also a great beauty, Dave continued. They're calling her the freshman campus beauty. Her name is Tanya Tang. She's not quite on Stella's level, but she's not far off. Dave noticed Leo's expression had turned a bit glum. Hey, don't be discouraged, he said, patting his back. Once I conquer all these goddesses, I'll give one to you. Get lost, Leo said, rolling his eyes. After dinner, they wandered around the campus and the athletic field before heading back to their dorm. That evening, after picking up their training uniforms, they sat in a classroom for their first official meeting. Computer Science and Networking, Class 1. All four of them were in this class. A young man walked to the front of the room. Hello, everyone. I'm your counselor for the next 4 years, Mr. Chun. I know this is your first time in college. Coincidentally, it's my first time as a counselor. You're the first class I'm advising. I just graduated with my master's degree myself, so for the next 4 years, we'll be learning together. Today is mainly for introductions. Starting tomorrow, you'll have 2 weeks of freshman training. If you have a medical reason you can't participate, let me know afterward. After the training, we'll hold elections for class officers. But for now, we need to choose a temporary class monitor. Any volunteers? A murmur went through the classroom. You should do it, Dave whispered, nudging Leo. Leo's eyes widened in disbelief. You want me to be the temporary monitor? Dave, my friend, I never knew that behind your handsome face, you were such a snake. Half a minute passed, and still, no one raised their hand. The temporary monitor wouldn't necessarily become the permanent one, and they'd have to handle all the tedious tasks during training. It was a thankless job. Mr. Chen's gaze swept across the room and, for some reason, landed on the muscular, tanned, buzz-cut Henry. The student in the fourth row, first on the left. You're a veteran, aren't you? Henry, who had been singled out, stood up, completely bewildered, as all eyes turned to him. A muscle man. No, I'm not. Oh, you're so well built, I just assumed. Well, in that case, you can be the temporary class monitor. Before Henry could react, Mr. Chen continued. Everyone has seen this student now. During the training period, you can report any issues to him. If he can't solve them, he can come to me. By the way, what's your name? His name is Henry Lee, sir. Dave shouted, full of excitement, as if he were making a grand sacrifice for his brother. Everyone scan the QR code for the class group chat. After that, you're free to go. Henry, you can collect the names of students who can't participate in training in the group chat. All right. Henry sighed, completely helpless. He never even had a chance to refuse. Of course, he didn't dare refuse the counselor in front of the whole class. The counselor had played his cards well. Back to the dorm? Sean asked. Heck no. Let's go to the athletic field and check out the girls, Dave urged. With Dave's encouragement, they all headed to the field. Sean had been reluctant. His celebrity-like face was a magnet for trouble. The moment he appeared on the field, he captured the attention of every girl there. Wave after wave of girls came up to ask for his contact information. This is a bit much, isn't it? After 2 laps around the field, during which Sean had rejected more than a dozen girls, even Dave couldn't take it anymore. Are all the girls on this field blind? Can't they see the handsome and suave Dave? The other 3 were speechless. Our pretty boy Leo and our gym coach Henry haven't even said a word. Where do you get the confidence to call yourself handsome and suave? Sean retorted mercilessly. Dave turned to argue, but when he met Sean's impossibly handsome face, he just stared, mesmerized. Ugh, what's with that look? Get away from me, Sean said, shuddering. I was just kidding, man. You don't really think I like guys, do you? Dave's grin was full of mischief. Meanwhile, in the girls' dorm, Chloe was scrolling through her phone while wearing a face mask. She suddenly saw a photo of a guy on the university's anonymous confessions page, with the caption, "The guy I saw in the 3rd dining hall at lunch today was so handsome." Chloe zoomed in on the photo of the handsome man, examining it closely before her eyes lit up. A man with no bad angles. The photo, of course, was of the one and only Sean Shun. Stella, you have to see this. When did our school get a guy this handsome? The girl next to her was wearing a slip dress and large black-framed glasses, engrossed in a Sherlock Holmes book. The combination of her cold face, mature figure, and cute glasses created a strange but captivating contrast. Stella didn't respond to Chloe. She wasn't interested in men. Not one bit. Come on, Stella, just take a look. He's really handsome. What if you like him? We can't be single forever, right? We have to get a boyfriend at some point. Chloe held the phone in front of Stella's face. Stella glanced at it dismissively. Suddenly, she froze, her eyes fixed on Sean's picture. But her gaze wasn't on Sean. A moment of silence. Chloe looked at Stella in disbelief, as if she'd seen a ghost. She'd only shown her the picture to share, never imagining that Stella would actually be interested. Stella? Looking at a guy? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Stella's gaze flickered away as quickly as it had landed, returning to her Sherlock Holmes book as if nothing had happened. Stella, don't pretend. Chloe grabbed Stella's arm, excited. Are you finally interested in men? No. Liar. Keep pretending. Was that not you staring at that guy just now? Chloe felt like she had discovered a massive secret. Was the Ice Queen finally melting? What? Stella asked nonchalantly. What guy? Chloe was speechless. Fine, have it your way. But that guy really was handsome. Chloe looked back at Sean's photo on her phone. In the picture, Sean was eating, completely unaware he was being photographed. Perhaps because he was so dazzling, most people didn't notice the guy sitting next to him. Leo was also very handsome. After finishing her face mask, Chloe went to wash her face. She suddenly noticed a man's jacket in the laundry basket next to her. A man's jacket in a women's dorm. Was that a problem? No. But Chloe was shocked. Because this laundry basket belonged to Stella. Even though Stella had rented an apartment off campus, she still had a lot of her things here. Stella. A voice several decibels louder than before echoed from the bathroom. Stella's hand paused. She suddenly remembered she hadn't washed that jacket yet. But it was fine. Chloe was sweet, but a little dense. She was easy to fool. Chloe came out of the bathroom and demanded, Stella, whose jacket is that? Guess. What? Chloe's curiosity was piqued, but Stella's attitude was driving her crazy. Tell me now. I bought it for myself. I don't believe you. Believe it or not. Arg. Chloe was frustrated, but there was nothing she could do. Back in the men's dorm, Leo and his roommates had returned. Let's see what my 3 sons are made of, Dave announced, deciding it was time for their first group gaming session. They all opened up the game on their phones. Cluck. The sound of a chicken dinner. Leo, my boy, we're just waiting for you. I'm sending you a team invite. Click. Invite sent. Leo accepted. The next moment, a golden light burst from his phone screen, nearly blinding the other 3. What the? No way. Holy crap. Dave, Sean, and Henry stared at Leo in shock. You're the #1 player on the kill leaderboard? The undefeated god of war, Fallen Leaf. Yeah. Master, please carry us. I want to be a god of war too. Let's go, 4-man squad. Drop at the military base. Whoa, a legendary item. Dave drooled over the golden sports car skin in Leo's game inventory. Go, Sean, go. Stop camping. What do you know? Patience is a virtue. The patient inherit the earth. Henry, what are you doing? Revive me. Revive me. Henry was still busy looting, completely oblivious to Dave crawling at his feet. The next moment, a grenade flew in, ending both of their virtual lives. Leo watched the 3 of them, speechless. You guys have 0 game sense. Watch me. With a flurry of masterful moves, peek and fire, pre-firing, instant grenades, crouch spamming, Leo executed a series of flashy maneuvers flawlessly. He successfully wiped out the entire enemy team. See? That's what you call skill, Dave said proudly, as if he were the one who had gotten the kills. What the hell? Leo suddenly cursed. On his screen, a player from hundreds of meters away had downed him with a single burst of headshots from an AKM. A cheater. Even the strongest players eventually fall to technology. The joyful night ended with the 4 of them excitedly gaming together. Late at night, Leo opened his laptop and began to write. At ease. Attention. Hold a military stance for 30 minutes. If I see a single person move, I'm adding 5 minutes for everyone. A collective groan went through the ranks. But Leo and his 3 roommates were practically asleep on their feet. They had been gaming until 4 in the morning and then had to wake up at 6:30 for assembly. They were all in a daze. The drill instructor paced between the formations, his sharp eyes scanning everyone. Suddenly, he frowned. A male student had his eyes closed, seemingly asleep. Sleeping while standing? The instructor walked over to him. The students nearby stifled their laughter. This student here. The boy snapped awake, his eyes meeting the instructor's. Sir, Dave yelled instinctively. As his eyes focused, he saw the instructor's stern, square face. What was happening? Wasn't he just in bed? How did he end up standing at attention? Ha ha ha. The surrounding students couldn't hold it in any longer and burst out laughing. But the instructor wasn't laughing, which meant the consequences would be severe. He remained silent, and slowly, the laughter died down. Then, the instructor smiled. It was that funny, was it? Why did everyone stop laughing? Go on, laugh. No one's laughing now, are they? Add another 30 minutes of standing at attention. He then turned to Dave. This student seems a bit out of it. Go run 10 laps around the field. That should wake you up. Sir, 15 laps. Yes, sir. Dave raised his arms in a running posture and, with a pained expression, took off toward the track. Poor Dave. Leo and the others said a silent prayer for him. Everyone, 10-minute break on the spot. Leo collapsed to the ground. An all-nighter followed by an hour of standing at attention was brutal. He couldn't take it. Dave sat on the ground, questioning his life choices. After 15 laps, he felt like he was floating. Dave, are you okay? Leo asked. Dave lifted his head, his face blank, looking like his soul had left his body. Alarmed, Leo started shaking him. Dave, hang in there. Dave didn't react. He lowered his head, his mouth moving. Dave, what are you saying? Are you thirsty? Hungry? Leo leaned in, putting his ear close to Dave's mouth to hear what he was saying. I want a girl. Leo was speechless. Suddenly, Dave's eyes widened, fixated on something in the distance. Leo followed his gaze. Not far away, a girl was handing Henry a bottle of Gatorade. Holy crap! Dave's jaw dropped to the floor, and he was instantly re-energized. That son of a gun is hitting on girls behind my back. Dave scrambled to his feet, ready to charge. Dave, calm down. Don't ruin Henry's chance at love, Leo said, holding him back. But then he looked in the other direction and saw something even more absurd. A crowd of girls had completely surrounded Sean. God of War, drink mine. It's peach-flavored Gatorade. I love you, Sean. I want to have your babies. The training formation had turned into a celebrity meet and greet, leaving the head commander in the viewing stands completely baffled. Just in the nick of time, the drill instructor yelled, "Everyone, on your feet." The formations reassembled, and everyone returned to their positions. Leo was in the front row. He noticed that the girl who had given Henry the drink was in the opposing formation, also in the front row. She was wearing the training uniform, had a doll-like face radiating youthful energy, and stood about 5'7" with a great figure. A tall girl with a cute face. That was probably the best way to describe her. Every so often, she would glance over at their formation, likely looking at Henry. So, some girls do like muscular guys. Good for Henry. He was already getting attention on the first day of training. That evening was the talent show portion. After a few rounds of a patriotic anthem, the instructor asked if anyone had any other talents to share. "We want to see a one-on-one fight," Dave shouted, pointing at Henry. "Let's find out who's stronger, our drill instructor's military combat techniques or our very own gym coach." Hearing this, the crowd grew curious and started chanting, "Fight! Fight!" The instructor looked at Henry and shook his head with a sigh. "Since everyone wants to see a fight, how about this student stands up?" Him again? Henry got up, feeling miserable. From the classroom to the training field, he was either being called on or on his way to being called on. He felt like his college life was doomed. Would he be constantly called on by professors in class too? The two contestants took their positions. Despite being called a muscle man, Henry was only slightly more built than the instructor, whose military combat skills were second nature. In just a few moves, Henry was soundly defeated and sat back down with a dejected look on his face. "Are you okay?" The girl who had given Henry the drink in the morning sat down next to him, looking concerned. "I'm fine," Henry said, waving his hand dismissively. Her name was Stella Su. Her training group was close to Leo's, so their evening breaks were in the same area. With girls around, the performances became more energetic. The two instructors smiled, watching the new students display their youthful energy. Leo and Dave also sat down next to Henry. As for Sean, he was surrounded by girls, trapped with no hope of escape. "So, coach," Dave said with a grin, "tell us, how did you meet this lovely lady?" Henry looked at Dave, completely clueless. Bella, however, was much more direct. "I was buying drinks for my roommates this morning, but one of them didn't like Gatorade. I saw Henry looked thirsty, so I sold it to him." "Oh, so you were just selling a drink. And here I thought my boy was about to get a girlfriend." Dave's mood instantly improved. "So what's your major, miss?" "My name is Dave Wong. A pleasure to meet you. I'm Stella Lu, from the Multimedia Program, Class 2. I'm from Lekking." "Lekking? I've heard of the great Buddha there." Dave and Bella chatted animatedly, with the clueless Henry sitting between them. Henry, who seemed to have invested all his skill points into muscle, just looked back and forth, unable to get a word in. Leo propped his chin on his hand, watching a boy who was currently singing. To be honest, he wasn't very good. Leo could sing better. He loved singing and was known as the king of karaoke in high school. His mind flashed back to the scene of him and the fairy-like senior taking shelter from the rain. Without thinking, Leo stood up. After the boy finished his song, Leo took the microphone. Dave, who had been in the middle of a lively conversation, was stunned. "You can sing." "I'd like to sing a song called Rainy Day. Since there's no background music, I'll be singing a cappella. Please bear with me." He took a deep breath and began to sing softly. "Suddenly the rain begins to fall, a storm that's waiting for you. Suddenly your tears begin to fall, from all the pain you've been through. I wait and I wait. I think and I think, but I can't wait for you. If the sky clears up but the sun doesn't shine on you, I'll take you through the bustling crowd." Leo's gentle voice, even without music, captivated everyone present. "Stella, this year's freshmen are full of hidden talents," Chloe said, holding her phone up to Stella's face. It was the anonymous confessions page again. "To the admin, I want to confess my feelings for this guy who was singing. He sounds amazing." The post was accompanied by a short, 10-second video. In the video, a boy in a training uniform was singing. Hearing the magnetic voice, Stella's eyes flickered over the image of Leo on the screen. Seeing that Stella was actually listening, Chloe said smugly, "See? I told you, Stella. Even an ice queen like you can't resist a good singing voice. And the boy who's singing is pretty cute, too." But only Stella knew the true meaning behind the song Leo had chosen. A rainy day? She slowly recalled the events of that afternoon. The freshman training was finally over. In dorm room 515, Building 8, Leo and his 3 roommates were ecstatic. With training behind them, their wonderful college life could truly begin. Dinner out, the 4 of them decided unanimously. And so, the first official dinner for room 515 began. Henry. Dave threw an arm around Henry's shoulder. You're the local here in Jiangcheng. Any recommendations? Of course, Henry said. I'll take you to the restaurant below my gym for a nutritional meal. Dave was speechless. He turned to Leo. Leo, the three of us are from this province. You're the only one from out of town. You decide what we eat. Leo thought for a moment. Let's get hot pot. Okay, it settled then. Hot pot it is. The four of them took a cab to the highest-rated hot pot restaurant near the university. Anyone not drinking? Sean asked. Not drinking. Dave said indignantly. We're all brothers. It's our first dinner together. I dare anyone to say no. The first dinner for room 515 has to have alcohol. Waiter, get us 2 beers each. 2 bottles. Leo's expression turned disdainful. Huh, a mere 2 bottles? For a proud man from the north like me, that's just an appetizer. Half an hour later. Ha ha ha, we're brothers. From this day forward, the three of us are sworn brothers. Big brother, second brother, third brother, second brother, big little brother. Sean watched the three of them with their arms around each other, completely exasperated. So much for the legendary drinking capacity of Northerners. A dozen bottles, and they were already done? At Sean's feet, countless empty beer bottles were scattered around. He, Sean, was the true champion drinker. Suddenly, Dave, his face flushed red, staggered over to the composed Sean. Sean, I'm the real pretty boy of room 515. Sean was speechless. Come on, chug this bottle. Whoever can't finish it is the sun. With that, Dave started chugging a bottle of beer. After a few gulps, he couldn't drink anymore. I, Dave Wong, am a man of my word. Seeing this, Sean had a feeling he knew what was coming and quietly started recording on his phone. Dad. Sean smiled slightly. I didn't quite hear that. Dad, Dave said with a look of utmost sincerity. Yes, my good son, Sean replied. Then, he noticed Dave's head was drooping. A bad feeling crept over him. Relying on his instincts, Sean took 2 steps back. The next moment, Dave threw up a colorful pile of mess right where he stood. Oh, for the love of God. It was a truly disgusting sight. Sean, fighting back his own nausea, called a waiter over. Then he called a cab to take the three of them back to the dorm. In the cab, Dave's head suddenly dropped again. Luckily, Dave still had some semblance of awareness. He quickly rolled down the window and stuck his head out. Alarmed, Sean shouted, "Don't you dare throw up in the car." The driver of the car behind them. What the hashtag times and asterisk asterisk. Around 8 o'clock in the evening, the four of them arrived back at the university. Sean, with Henry on his left and Dave on his right, struggled toward the dorm. Leo, being a northerner with a slightly better tolerance for alcohol, had sobered up a bit and was trailing behind them. Suddenly, he stopped. He had to go to the bathroom. That was the only thought in his mind. He looked around but couldn't find a restroom anywhere. He figured there must be one in the academic building. Leo headed toward the building. He figured there must be one in the academic building. He hadn't had any classes yet, so he wasn't familiar with the layout and didn't know where the restrooms were. Sean, focused on his drunk cargo, didn't notice Leo had wandered off. At the entrance of the academic building, Stella, carrying her bag, was walking out alone. She was wearing a sparkling blue formal dress with a white jacket over it and crystal-heeled shoes. Today, Stella had on a full face of exquisite makeup, adding to her already breathtaking beauty. Senior. A faintly familiar voice sounded beside her. She turned. Leo was standing there, looking dazed and a little foolish. Are you talking to me? When Leo saw her face, he realized it was the fairy-like senior from the other day. Hiccup. Need to use the restroom. Don't know where. Where it is. Stella pointed in a direction, her expression calm. Go in, turn right, and keep walking. The restroom is at the end of the hall. Thank you, senior. Watching Leo's stumbling figure, Stella tilted her head and murmured to herself. He doesn't stutter when he says, thank you, senior. When Leo came out of the restroom, he had a confused look on his face. I think I just saw the fairy senior. Did I talk to her? Leo was still in a fog, not completely sober yet. Must have been my imagination. Shaking his head, Leo walked out of the building. As soon as he stepped outside, he saw a beautiful figure standing at the entrance. It really was the fairy senior. Leo froze, not knowing what to do. Seeing his reaction, Stella thought the young freshman was rather cute. You were drinking? Yeah. At his reply, Stella took off her white jacket and draped it over Leo's shoulders. Without the jacket, her sparkling blue dress was fully revealed. The dress was adorned with rows of crystals, and paired with her makeup, high heels, and a delicate blue necklace on her collarbone, she looked like a true fairy who had descended to earth. Leo was completely captivated. He swore that the fairy senior standing before him was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen in his life. I don't have your black jacket with me, so you don't have to return this one. Consider it compensation, Stella said calmly. She had just finished her evening self-study session and had changed into the dress in the building's restroom. She hadn't expected the first person to see her in it would be this freshman. Lucky kid. With that, Stella turned and left, leaving Leo with nothing but the image of her elegant back. Rehearsal for the welcome gala. Stella arrived at the venue. President Su, you're just in time. The rehearsal is just beginning. Okay. I never knew our student council president could also sing, the host said with a smile. Stella felt helpless about the situation. For the welcome gala, every department had to contribute a performance. But in the computer science department, not only were there few girls, but they were all more comfortable with keyboards than microphones. Left with no other choice, Stella had to step up and represent them on stage. The next day, Leo woke up in his dorm bed, surveying his surroundings with groggy, half-open eyes. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? The classic 3 questions of a hangover. You're awake, Sean said, engrossed in a video game. Of all the roommates, only Sean was up. The other 2 were still sound asleep. Luckily, they had no classes this morning, or they would have skipped their very first one. Drinking really does cause problems. Sean, my friend, Leo said admiringly. I underestimated you guys from the south. Turns out you're the hidden master. Having a high tolerance isn't always a good thing, Sean replied quietly. No, back in my city, if you can hold your liquor, you're the boss. As Leo was about to get out of bed, he noticed a piece of clothing in the pile on his bed that wasn't his, a white jacket. Where did this come from? He picked it up and examined it closely. A faint, pleasant scent wafted from it, like fresh strawberries and cream. As Leo was about to get out of bed, he noticed a piece of clothing in the pile on his bed that wasn't his, a white jacket. Where did this come from? He picked it up and examined it closely. A faint, pleasant scent wafted from it, like fresh strawberries and cream. A girl's jacket? A fragmented memory surfaced, but the details were hazy. He remembered something happening last night, but he couldn't recall exactly what. When I got back to the dorm last night, you were gone, Sean explained. A little while later, you came back wearing that jacket, grinning like an idiot. Oh, and you were talking in your sleep, mumbling something about a fairy senior. Nearly scared the life out of me. Sean's explanation brought it all back to Leo. So it wasn't a dream. That meant. Leo's heart leaped with joy. The jacket in his hands was a gift from the fairy senior. He was flooded with a mix of excitement, delight, surprise, and honor. He couldn't find the words to describe his feelings as he held the white jacket like a precious treasure. Sean saw his expression and gave him a look of utter disdain. So young. Leo, my friend, judging by your reaction, you've never been in a relationship, have you? How'd you know? It's written all over your face. So, you want your big brother to teach you a few tricks? Hearing this, Leo got dressed, jumped out of bed, and sat down on a stool, looking at Sean with eager eyes. Please enlighten me, Professor Sean. A student worth teaching. Sean nodded with satisfaction. But you'll have to wait until I finish this game. How long? I just started. Half an hour later, Sean put on an air of profound wisdom. Leo, my friend, I will now teach you the art of pursuing a woman. First, get to know her. Understanding is the key to the next step. Only by knowing a person can you figure out if you're compatible. If you don't know her when you start dating, you'll regret it later. Learn her personality, her hobbies, and so on. That will give you plenty of topics to talk about and help you see if you two are a good match. After a pause, Sean glanced at his phone and continued. Second, you must invest financially and materially. In today's society, you can't expect to get something for nothing. Girls these days are well provided for, and many are financially independent. They don't need your money. But as a man pursuing a woman, you should be presentable. Buying her things she likes, or her favorite snacks, is essential. Leo nodded vigorously, completely buying it. Sean suppressed a laugh, looked down at his phone again, and started to speak. Wait a minute, Leo interrupted. Why do you keep looking at your phone? Because you're bloody Googling it? As sharp as he was, Leo saw through the charade immediately. Sure enough, when Leo searched for how to pursue a girl on his own phone, the results were identical to what Sean had just said. Ahem, you caught me. Leo stared at Sean with a scrutinizing gaze, making him squirm. Leo, let me show you something funny. Sean quickly decided to change the subject, sharing the video he'd recorded the previous night. Seeing a drunk and disoriented Dave shouting "Dad" made Leo burst out laughing. But it was clear that beneath Sean's handsome exterior was a cunning mind. People that good-looking always have some quirks. The image of the fairy senior popped into Leo's head. Except for the fairy senior, of course. It wasn't until noon that Henry and Dave finally stirred. The moment Dave opened his eyes, he yelled, "What time is it?" The sudden noise startled Henry. "What are you yelling for? You scared the hell out of me." "You don't get it. The welcome gala is at 6:30 tonight. There'll be tons of second and third-year girls performing. I heard Chloe Chin is an amazing dancer. I have to go see my goddess dance." Dave then glanced at the time and saw it was only noon. Still early. Back to sleep. Leo was speechless. "Dave, you might not know this, but we have a class this afternoon." "So what?" "It's an ethics class, taught by the head of the department. He said if you miss 3 classes, you automatically fail." Hearing this, Dave shot out of bed and got dressed in record time. "Actually, I love going to class, especially ethics. Let's go, we'll get some food and then head to class." Leo was dumbfounded. "Impressive." Sean chimed in. "Truly impressive." Henry was already snoring again. He'd fallen back asleep. The ethics class was incredibly dull, yet Sean stared at the front of the room with intense focus. "Hey, celebrity boy, are you actually listening to this?" Dave asked curiously. Sean didn't respond. "Celebrity boy? Huh? Were you talking to me? What did you say?" I zoned out. Dave was speechless. As evening approached, Dave dragged Leo to the welcome gala. As for the other two, Sean was afraid of being mobbed by girls and didn't dare to come. Henry said he had something to do, but didn't say what. Only Leo, with nothing better to do, was pulled along by Dave. "Dave, is the gala really that fun? I haven't been around much, so don't lie to me." "Leo, my boy, would your big brother Dave ever lie to you? Don't worry, the performances at the gala will definitely interest you." Leo sat in the audience, his face devoid of expression. This is what you call an interesting show. He watched as a few upperclassmen performed an excruciatingly boring skit on stage. Why wasn't he just lying in his dorm room instead of enduring this? Dave hadn't expected the gala to be so dull either. His goddess, Chloe Chin, apparently wasn't even on the program. Well, we're already here. There's only one act left, so we might as well see it through. The final act was at least somewhat entertaining. A group of second-year girls performed a lively dance routine that got Dave all excited. After they finished, the welcome gala was officially over. People began to stand up and leave, but the host strangely delayed his closing remarks. "Hold on, all you freshmen." The audience, already on their feet, looked at the host in confusion. All the performances were done, so why wait? Did he really think they wanted to hear a closing speech? The host just gave a mysterious smile. "Actually, our welcome gala has one more hidden performance. We saved it for the very end. This was arranged by the student arts troupe. We kept this surprise off the program, and on behalf of the troupe, I apologize for that. We hope you all enjoy it." When you think of Jiangxing University, you think of our computer science department. And when you think of the computer science department, you think of her. As for who she is, allow me to keep you in suspense for a moment longer. Feel free to guess. Now, let's welcome our special guest, who will sing you, in the distance, to close out tonight's welcome gala. The audience was taken aback. Some of the freshmen, seemingly guessing what was coming, quietly sat back down. The rest were clueless, but seeing others sit, they followed suit. Hearing the announcement, Leo felt a flicker of anticipation. Dave was puzzled. No way. When you say computer science, the first person who comes to mind is the goddess Stella Su. But she's known for being an ice queen. Why would she participate in a welcome gala? But besides her, what other famous person is there in the computer science department? Could it be that AI major Li Meng? Dave was deep in thought. Of course, he hoped the special guest was Stella Su. Even though she was known for being unapproachable, she was a true sight to behold. A stunning figure, fair skin, and long, elegant legs, combined with her ice queen beauty and an untouchable aura. If she appeared at the gala, it would be explosive news across campus. The host retreated backstage, and the lights went out, plunging the auditorium into darkness. Suddenly, a crisp clicking sound echoed through the silent hall. The sound of high heels. A girl? For some reason, Leo's mind flashed back to the previous night, to the image of the fairy senior in her sparkling blue dress and high heels. Could it really be her? Soon, the clicking stopped. The figure on stage stood still in the center. The entire venue was silent. The arts troupe's stunt had certainly built up a sense of anticipation. Everyone stared at the stage with rapt attention. Then, a beautiful melody began to play, and a spotlight illuminated the center of the stage. There, a girl who looked like a fairy stood holding a microphone. She had long, flowing hair and wore a magnificent, sparkling blue gown. The cinched waist of the dress accentuated her alluring curves. She was breathtakingly beautiful. It really is Stella Su from the computer science department. If Stella Su without makeup is already a peerless beauty, then tonight, with this stunning makeup, she is without a doubt the only candidate for campus queen. The people around them all nodded in agreement. No one could deny it. The Stella on stage was just too beautiful, like a fairy from another world, with an ethereal, otherworldly quality. A thunderous applause erupted, nearly drowning out the music. Seeing the fairy senior on stage, bathed in adoration, Leo was overjoyed. And yet, an indescribable sadness washed over him. He couldn't feel happy. It was only now that he truly understood the kind of popularity his fairy senior commanded at this university. A person like her was not someone a mere freshman like him could ever hope to reach. The two brief encounters he'd had with her were a stroke of luck others could only dream of. The jacket she'd given him was probably just to repay him for his help, nothing more. A person like her wouldn't want to owe anyone a favor. "Leo, it's Stella Su. She's even more beautiful than Chloe Chin," Dave exclaimed, but then he noticed Leo sitting beside him, looking lost and silent. "Leo, what's wrong with you?" Dave was confused. Then, as if realizing something, he looked at Leo strangely and whispered, "Leo, you look like you just ate crap. Did you get your heart broken?" "Shut up," Leo said, his face dark. But Dave wasn't far off. For Leo, it was over before it had even begun. A person like Stella, he was destined to only watch her shine from a distance. Gradually, the chatter in the audience died down as Stella began to sing. Her beautiful voice filled every corner of the auditorium. The audience fell silent, every eye fixed on the fairy-like figure on stage. She wasn't just beautiful as a goddess. Her voice was just as enchanting, captivating everyone. Perhaps after tonight, there would be no more debate about who was the one and only campus queen of Jiangxing University. The freshman beauty, the classical literature goddess, none of them mattered. The audience was in unanimous agreement. No one could surpass the elegance and beauty of Stella Su at this moment. She was too beautiful, almost too perfect for this world. People pulled out their phones, capturing photos and videos of her. Pictures of Stella flooded the university's online forums and social media platforms like TikTok. In that single moment, Stella's personal social media account gained hundreds of new followers, a number that grew every second. Even though her account only contained some notes on computer science, she could become an influencer if she wanted to. It was simply a matter of choice. The more she shone, the more acutely Leo felt the distance between them. But Leo wasn't even sure what his feelings for the fairy senior were. It had started with that first encounter in the rain, a simple crush that grew after their second meeting last night. In Leo's heart, the fairy senior was like a pure, unattainable moonbeam. Was this love? He didn't know. Liking someone could be difficult, but it could also be simple. A single moment, a single feeling, could capture your heart without you even realizing it. Just like the girl he had a crush on for 3 years, he had fallen for her without knowing why. But was a crush without any real interaction truly love? It was just one-sided infatuation. Thinking of the senior's unparalleled beauty, Leo looked silently at Stella on the stage. She was beautiful, and he, like everyone else, could only admire her beauty from a corner of the crowd. He was just another face in the audience, watching the fairy on stage. Maybe this was what a crush was. Dave glanced at Leo's strange expression, then turned his gaze back to the stage. As the song ended, Stella turned to leave. The host walked on stage and took the microphone from her. At that very moment, from the audience, a voice shouted out, "Goddess Stella." Leo's eyes widened as he stared at Dave beside him. He was completely shocked by this move. Why did he suddenly stand up? What was he planning to do? Dave gave Leo a strange smile. It was the smile of a proud father, trying to reassure his disappointing son. Then, Dave shouted toward the stage, "Senior. A few days ago, a freshman sang a song called Rainy Day. What did you think of it?" The host was stunned. This wasn't in the script. Stella looked in Dave's direction and almost immediately noticed Leo sitting next to him. She silently took the microphone back from the host. It was good. Those 2 words were the highest praise she could offer Leo at that moment. Dave smiled and shouted even louder, "He's right here next to me. We want to see you two sing a duet." Leo was stunned. The audience was stunned. The host was also stunned. Stella stood on stage, her expression unreadable. This was the welcome gala. A request from a freshman should, by all rights, be accepted. Refusing might look bad, but this was Stella Su. Asking her to agree to something like this was a joke. Just as the host was thinking of how to smooth things over, she said coolly, "All right." Hearing this, the host was surprised. He had already prepared an excuse, never expecting Stella to actually agree. Dave nudged Leo. Leo's mind went blank. "Are you serious, Dave? What are you being so shy for? I've given you the opportunity, now get up there." Leo was practically dragged to his feet by Dave. He walked onto the stage, forcing himself to move forward, feeling 1,000 pairs of curious eyes on him. He couldn't help but feel nervous, looking like a shy, green teenager. The host handed him another microphone. "What songs do you know?" Stella asked, her voice cool and commanding. Her presence on stage was overwhelming. Leo felt like he didn't belong up there, and he spoke meekly, too nervous to say much. "Anything is fine." "Heh, a little stutterer," Stella thought to herself, suppressing a smile. "Since it's a male-female duet, let's sing something simple, like A Little Sweet." A little sweet? Leo was taken aback. He was still silent, but from the audience, Dave was going crazy, frantically signaling him with his eyes to agree. Seeing this, Leo suddenly found the situation comical, and his nervousness began to fade. "Okay." In the audience, Dave was the first to cheer and applaud. Following his lead, the rest of the audience began to clap, albeit hesitantly. Many of them hadn't heard about anyone singing Rainy Day during the training period. Although the video of Leo singing had been posted on the confessions page and gained some minor fame, it hadn't been widely circulated. Even Dave had been gambling on whether Stella had heard of it. His gamble paid off. After hearing Stella's heavenly voice, most of the audience believed no one could possibly share the stage with her. They now looked at Leo with a certain degree of skepticism. Under the host's direction, the instrumental for A Little Sweet began to play. The first verse was the male part. Leo took a deep breath. He closed his eyes. The memory of his first encounter with the fairy senior flashed through his mind, and he began to relax. When he opened his eyes again, they were filled with a gentle emotion. If it's a love song, you have to sing it with feeling. He turned to look at Stella and slowly opened his mouth. "I pick an apple, waiting for you to pass by my door. I place it in your hand to help quench your thirst." Seeing the tenderness in Leo's eyes, Stella felt a slight flutter in her heart. This kid really had a talent for singing. Like a cola in the summer, like cocoa in the winter. You are the right person at the right time. They sang back and forth. Although Stella's expression remained largely unchanged, her eyes were no longer as cold as before. This was a chance to perform on the same stage as the fairy senior, and Leo wouldn't let it go to waste. This time, he would give it his all, showcasing his full potential. In the audience, their initial skepticism had long since turned into pure enjoyment. On closer inspection, Leo was quite handsome, with a shy personality, a typical pure-hearted young man. Everyone listened intently to the song performed by the two on stage. I don't know why, the wound hasn't healed yet, but you just barged into my heart. With the most romantic chorus, you gently hum along. Our eyes affirm our choice. When the song ended, the applause from the audience was even more thunderous than before. The host walked on stage, took the microphone from Leo, and said excitedly, I never expected to hear such a performance at the Welcome Gala. Thank you to Stella Su and this freshman for making this event even more meaningful. I hope everyone's university life is rich and colorful, and I wish you all success in your studies. This concludes our Welcome Gala. Please exit in an orderly manner. After leaving the auditorium, Dave threw his arm around Leo's shoulder. So, how did it feel to sing on stage with Goddess Stella? It was an absolute honor, Leo said without hesitation. Well then, Dave grinned slyly. This opportunity was given to you by your big brother Dave. Don't you think you should show some appreciation? A week's worth of breakfast? A month? No way. 2 weeks at most. Deal. Seeing Dave's triumphant expression, Leo's face darkened. He'd been tricked. But thinking back to the moment Dave stood up at the gala, a warmth spread through Leo's chest. Dave might be a goofy guy most of the time, but when it mattered, he always came through. He was a truly great roommate. When they returned to the dorm, Sean was still in bed, playing games. Not bad, you two, Sean exclaimed. The video of you and Stella Su singing together has gone viral in the school chats and on the confessions page. Everyone's saying you're a match made in heaven. Dave sidled up to Leo, a sly grin on his face. Leo, my boy, do you really have a thing for Stella Su? No, Leo denied immediately, his expression changing. Seeing his reaction, Sean and Dave exchanged a knowing glance and smiled. This kid was a terrible liar. Leo, if you like her, just go for it. Dad supports you, Dave said. But, if you actually get together with Stella Su, I think every guy in this school will want to kill you. Of course, I don't think Stella Su would ever fall for you anyway. It's not that I'm looking down on you, bro, but she's called the Ice Queen for a reason. She might not even be interested in guys at all. What are you talking about? Henry walked in, looking pleased with himself. Whoa, you're looking flushed. Did you just come from a date? Henry smiled shyly. Bella Lu invited me to dinner at the cafeteria. What? Bella Lu? Dave looked at Henry as if he'd been betrayed. Bella clearly likes me. Why would she ask you out? Hearing this, Leo and Sean were speechless. Bella was a tall girl with long legs, standing at 170 cm. With girls often appearing taller at the same height, if Dave stood next to her, she'd probably tower over him. But their roommate Henry, a muscular guy with a tall, leggy girl? That just made sense. I never thought our coach, who usually seems a bit clueless, would be so smooth with the ladies, Leo sighed. Don't be ridiculous. I was at the counselor's office on an errand, and Bella happened to be there too, so we just grabbed a bite to eat. Oh, so you just happened to grab a bite to eat, the three of them chorused, their tones dripping with suspicion. Whatever. Let's play a game. I'm in. Leo, you coming? Of course. Opening his phone, Leo suddenly remembered he hadn't checked his messaging app in a while. He opened it, and saw several unread messages from Jessica Su. Is that muscular guy who pretends to be a senior in your dorm? I saw him with you at the cafeteria the other day. He's the temporary class monitor now. That muscle guy is so handsome. Nice one, Leo. I heard you saying during the training. Leo, what are you doing? Are you really not checking your messages? I don't believe it. You're just ignoring me on purpose. You're seriously not replying. I give up. Leo was confused for a moment. Who was this? He hadn't memorized everyone in his class yet. But then, a realization dawned on him, and he winced. How could he have forgotten about this chatterbox? Leo was from the capital, and there was another student in his class from his hometown. They had connected quickly, figuring it would be good to have a familiar face so far from home. But after exchanging contact info, Leo had immediately regretted it. Because this Jessica Su was a total chatterbox. I forgot to check the app. Before Leo could even send the 7-word text, Dave urged him. What are you waiting for, Leo? Get in the game. All right. Closing the messaging app, Leo launched Kings of Glory. He was pretty good at this game too. While not a top-tier pro, among casual players, he was definitely the kind of skilled player who could carry the team. I'm carrying this. Dave's Marco Polo ulted into the middle of a team fight, dealing a decent amount of damage to a group of low-health enemies before being gloriously killed. The perfect setup man. Then, Leo's character, a warrior, charged in, taking down the enemies one by one with ease. Dave, how many times do I have to tell you? I initiate, you clean up. That way, neither of us dies. But no, you just have to start the fight yourself, Leo said. Humph, don't speak. My Marco Polo's initiation was a work of art. A strategic death. It's all in the details. You wouldn't understand. Leo was bewildered. With a giant question mark hanging over his head, he got ready for the next match. During the 2 weeks of training, Leo had carried his roommates up to the peerless rank, over 30 stars into the master tier. After gaming, he would spend another 3 hours or so writing and updating his novel, which meant he was barely getting any rest, sporting a permanent pair of dark circles under his eyes. Tonight, the residents of dorm 515 were ready to game again. Hold on, don't start yet. It's no fun without a girl. Let me see if there are any girls nearby, Dave said. With your skills? You want to play with a girl? Don't think you're all that just because you hit peerless. Leo carried us the whole way. Suddenly, a team invite request popped up on Leo's game screen. LovesHotpot. She plays Kings of Glory too? Leo accepted the request. Seeing the new female avatar, Dave got excited. Quiet, everyone. We got a girl. He assumed it was someone he had invited from the public chat, since he had just spammed a bunch of invites to random girls. LovesHotpot joined the team. Hello? Anyone on mic? Dave immediately turned on his voice chat. Yes. LovesHotpot said only one word, but Dave was thrilled. It was a cool, mature female voice, the kind that got your blood pumping. Damn, your brother Dave has some luck. First pull, and it's a cool, older sister type. Leo was speechless. Can't you see this is my friend? Let's go, Dave said impatiently. 430+ star peerless players and 148-star master tier LovesHotpot entered the game. But Dave soon discovered that the girl had only said that one word in the pre-game lobby. In the game, she communicated entirely through text. At the hero selection screen, LovesHotpot wisely chose the support role. After all, a girl had to be sensible. With 4 strong guys on the team, there wasn't much room for her to shine. She picked a support character, a fairy-like creature, and stuck to Leo's jungler from the very beginning. She had considered helping out the marksman, but she quickly realized that this Marco Polo was terrible. A total noob. How did a noob like this even make it to peerless? So, she decided to stick with the jungler for the entire game. Marco Polo was left alone in the bottom lane to fend off the enemy marksman and support. He also had to deal with ganks from the enemy mid laner and jungler. Even the enemy top laner, a warrior on horseback, frequently came down to flank him. Help me. After going 0 and 6, Dave turned on his voice chat again, pleading, Fairy support, come help. The fairy princess didn't budge. If the marksman was bad, a support sticking with him was just a buy one get one free deal for the enemy team. In the end, they inevitably lost the match. Even though Leo had gotten a quadra-kill, he couldn't carry such a heavy team, especially when the seemingly skilled LovesHotpot was playing a low-damage support character. I'm done. I've been playing all day. My brain is turning to mush, Sean said, quitting the game. Seeing this, the 0 and 11 Marco Polo, Dave, finally realized the problem. With a pained expression, he said, I'm done too. I'm going to go practice against bots. Henry scratched his head, hesitated, and then also quit the game. He started typing furiously on his screen, chatting with someone. Only Leo and LovesHotpot were left. I'm done playing, Leo typed, then exited the game. The next moment, LovesHotpot has invited you to join a team. Leo was pulled back in. 3 stars away from glorious. A message appeared in the chat. No problem, I'll carry you. No, you play support. LovesHotpot's message left Leo completely bewildered. Before he could react, she had already started matchmaking. He had to play support? Leo was confused, but he didn't mind what role he played. He picked a versatile support character. This game was in the bag. A third-floor teammate typed. Do you even know how to play this support? If not, switch. Don't drag us down. LovesHotpot replied. Shut up. The teammate retorted. Heh, protective, aren't we? Is this your boyfriend? LovesHotpot. 30 seconds until minions spawn. Leo followed LovesHotpot's marksman character, using his support skills to perfection. As the game progressed, Leo, the support, had more kills than their third-floor teammate. Soon, they had won 3 games in a row. The powerful combination of Leo and LovesHotpot had pushed her rank to Glorious Master. You're a good support, LovesHotpot typed. You're very skilled too. After exchanging pleasantries, Leo typed. You play Kings of Glory too? I thought you only played the Battle Royale game. LovesHotpot, I play both. She had just logged in out of habit and happened to see Leo online. When she played games, she usually played solo or with other girls. The Battle Royale game was the only one where she had a regular male gaming buddy. Leo opened LovesHotpot's profile and discovered that she was the 7th best Sun Shangxiang in Jiangxing City. That wasn't the important part. The important part was that she was also in Jiangxing. Leo, you're in Jiangxing too? LovesHotpot, Jiangxing University. Seeing this, Leo was a little surprised. Had Mason invited one of his colleagues to play back then? Leo, hello, Professor. LovesHotpot. Seeing the words hello, Professor, Stella almost burst out laughing. This freshman really had a knack for making an ice queen laugh. LovesHotpot. I'm a student. Seeing those 4 words, Leo was stunned. Mason had actually invited one of his students to play games with him? Finding it tedious to type, he turned on his microphone. Hey, I can't believe we're at the same university. He had never used his mic when playing the Battle Royale game with her, but since they were schoolmates, he figured LovesHotpot might soon become a real-life friend. LovesHotpot didn't turn on her mic. Instead, she immediately left the team lobby, so quickly that Leo didn't even have time to react. On the other side, in the girls' dorm, Stella was startled by Leo's voice and quickly exited the game. She never used her mic in games, and usually muted anyone who did. She was extremely shy online, which was why after all this time, she had only made one male gaming friend. And that was through Mason. But an online friend becoming a real-life friend. It was exciting and also quite interesting. For some reason, Stella's mind flashed back to that rainy day and the image of the young, innocent face. A faint smile touched the lips of the Ice Queen. That night, Leo tossed and turned in his bed, unable to sleep. The sound of Henry's clear snores echoed through the dorm. It was loud, but after half a month, he had gotten used to it. His mind kept replaying the events from the game earlier. He couldn't resist opening his chat and sending a message to LovesHotpot. Leo, are you a senior? At the faculty apartment, Stella, who was tidying her room, heard the notification and replied. At the faculty apartment, Stella, who was tidying her room, heard the notification and replied. LovesHotpot, yes. Seeing the reply, Leo finally understood. The two girls Mason had invited to play with them back then must have been his students. That guy actually roped his students into playing games with him. How could he live with himself as a teacher? But Mason taught computer science. Could this senior also be a computer science major? With this thought, Leo sent another message. Leo, do you know Stella Su? Seeing this message, Stella sat down on her sofa. A mischievous thought popped into her head. Professor Gu's younger cousin, the boy who was a beast in video games, was so shy and innocent in real life. LovesHotpot, I know her. We're very close. Leo was taken aback. He had just asked casually, not expecting that she not only knew Stella, but was also very close to her. Now that he had his answer, he didn't know what to say. He even felt a little nervous. His long pause prompted Stella, who had propped her legs up, to ask, LovesHotpot, you have a crush on her? Seeing those words, even though he was lying in his bed in the boys' dorm, a deep blush spread across Leo's face. With his looks and grades, he'd had plenty of girls like him over the years. But because of his 3-year crush on another girl, he had turned them all down. Besides, his parents had met in college, so Leo had always planned to wait until college to date. He was still a complete innocent, had never been in a relationship, and was terrible at dealing with girls. After a long silence, Leo replied with a single word, no. A slight smile curved Stella's lips. 2 words, after a 3-minute delay. With her looks, she'd seen all kinds of pursuers. But a freshman this pure? This was a first. Leo, what's your name, senior? Stella thought for a moment and sent a name. LovesHotpot, Chloe Chin. LovesHotpot, Chloe Chin. The 2 girls Mason had invited to play with them were her and Chloe Chin. So, using Chloe's name now was perfectly reasonable. Leo, what a coincidence. The name Chloe Chin was not unfamiliar to Leo. She was Dave's dream girl. Thinking of this, Leo sent another message. My roommate has a crush on you. Dave? Seeing this, Stella couldn't help but smile. She found it quite amusing. Who chats with a girl like that? Without realizing it, they had chatted late into the night. Talking to Leo, Stella felt like she was talking to a little kid. She liked the feeling. His messages had a certain clear-eyed foolishness to them. But throughout the night, Leo kept asking about Stella Su. In the end, Leo couldn't even bring himself to ask for her contact info. After all, he and LovesHotpot had always used a different app for gaming. And Stella's personal messaging app was almost exclusively for family and a few close female friends. Stella smiled and, under the guise of Chloe Chin, typed, I'll send you her contact. I'm close with her. LovesHotpot. QR code for a contact. But Leo was so tired that he had fallen asleep without realizing it. Stella noticed that no one had added her on the messaging app, and there was no reply on the other chat. She frowned. Did the little stutterer fall asleep? Suddenly, her brow furrowed. She looked at the hundreds of messages she had exchanged with Leo, and then at her still messy room, a thoughtful expression on her face. What had she been doing all night? Then, her expression softened, and she murmured to herself, just helping Professor Gu look after his cousin. Adding him on the app is no big deal. When Leo woke up, he casually opened his phone and saw the last 2 messages from Chloe Chin from the night before. Then, he saw the QR code. Chloe Chin had said it was for Stella Su. Leo was wide awake. The fairy senior's contact info? He immediately clicked on it and saw her profile page. They weren't friends yet, so he couldn't see her posts, only her nickname, which was just Stella Su. Simple and unadorned, using her real name. Come to think of it, Leo's name was Luo Yi, and his gaming alias was Fallen Leaf, which was a play on his name. What should he do? Add her or not? But the fairy senior probably didn't even know who he was. Should he say he was the guy who sang with her at the welcome gala? Or the one who took shelter from the rain with her on the first day of school? With Stella's personality, would any of those reasons be enough for her to accept? And if she rejected him, he probably wouldn't get a second chance. Leo sat on his bed, hesitating. His first class was at 8:30. He had woken up at 7, and now it was 8:10, and he was still frozen with indecision. Leo, what are you sitting there for? If you don't get up now, you're going to be late, Henry reminded him. Huh? Oh right. Coming. Leo closed his phone and quickly started getting dressed. During his first class, Leo just stared at the QR code on his phone. His 3 roommates all leaned in to look. You've been staring at it for ages. Are you going to add her or not? Sean chuckled beside him. I want to, but I don't dare, Leo said meekly. After all, this was the contact info of the Jiangxing University campus queen. What right did he have? And what if she rejected him? Sean glanced at the name on the QR code, Stella Su, and paused for a moment. Then, a slight smile touched his lips. He prompted, Leo, let me ask you, what's your relationship with her right now? Strangers. Then what are you afraid of? Sean asked again. Hearing this, something clicked in Leo's mind. That's right. What was he afraid of? He had no chance of getting to know the fairy senior anyway, so the worst-case scenario was that things would just stay the same. With that thought, Leo typed his name into the friend request, didn't add any other reason, and sent it. Finally, he turned off his phone. Sean was surprised. Why'd you turn it off? Leo turned his head with a stiff, nervous movement. I'm scared to look. I'm afraid of being rejected. Sean was speechless. How could there be such an innocent man in college? No, on second thought, this guy was definitely still a boy. As a third-year student, Stella Su didn't have many classes left. Plus, with her spot in the graduate program already secured, she'd been focusing on part-time work. Her family wasn't wealthy, but as a prodigy in the computer science department, she had plenty of ways to earn money. However, after a rare late night, Stella didn't wake up until noon the next day. Her tall, elegant figure was curled up in bed, her long, slender legs tangled in the sheets. The collar of her pajamas revealed a stretch of pale skin, giving her the lazy air of a cat. It was hard to imagine that the Ice Queen of Jiangxing University could look so adorable in her sleep. As for why she'd stayed up so late, she wasn't entirely sure herself. It had just sort of happened. Every time she was about to drift off, the slightest sound from her phone would jolt her wide awake. She didn't know what she was waiting for. Upon waking, she opened her phone and saw a friend request. Fallen Leaf has sent you a friend request. The note attached simply said, Leo Luo. Seeing his name, Stella was speechless. This freshman. Who adds a girl like this? Who would ever accept? Without hesitation, she accepted the request. Her other social media account was filled with photos from university events, something she had to post as student council president. That's why she had blocked Leo from seeing her feed there. He was just an online gaming buddy, and she didn't want her work life interfering with friends outside of her university classmates. She wondered what this boy's reaction would be when he found out his gaming buddy was the president of the student council. Meanwhile, after a morning of classes, Leo and his 3 roommates trudged wearily into a small diner across from the university. Even though classes were just sitting, a solid morning of them was mentally draining. To make matters worse, they had a full afternoon of classes and an evening study session to look forward to. It was Monday, a day packed with classes, a hellish start to the week. Beef noodle soup. Black pepper beef over rice. Spicy chicken giblet noodles. The owner then looked at Leo. Hey handsome, what about you? Seeing Leo lost in thought, Dave nudged him. Not focused on food, Leo. Something's wrong with your thinking. Huh? Oh, I'll have the braised chicken with rice noodles. Everyone stared at him, dumbfounded. Dave's mouth twitched. Do you hear yourself right now? This kid's brain is fried from class. Just get him the same beef noodles as me. Beef gives you strength. When the owner placed the noodles in front of Leo, he was still staring into space. Sean sighed. Leo, my friend, you're wearing your heart on your sleeve. I am not. Leo bristled like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. And you? Sean glanced at Henry with a wry smile. Are you and that girl from training, Bella, a thing now? What are you grinning about? Leo and Henry, one all gloom and the other all glee. What the hell? Dave was shocked. You and Bella are together? He, not yet. But she asked me to go to the mall with her tonight. Looking at Henry's simple, brawny appearance, Sean offered a word of caution. Things are moving pretty fast. Be careful you're not being played by a master manipulator. Don't you dare talk about Bella like that. Before Henry could even react, Dave was the one who got defensive. Sean's mouth twitched. You're the real simp, he thought. After the meal, Leo stared at his powered-off phone, conflicted. He had to turn it on to pay. It had been over 3 hours since he'd sent the friend request to the fairy senior. Was he about to turn his phone on just to see a rejection message? Leo, what are you waiting for? Hurry up, his roommates urged. With a pained expression, Leo powered on his phone. Re-enter your passcode to restart. 3-6-2-5-8-9. The moment the home screen appeared, a notification popped up. Stella Su has accepted your friend request. The next instant, pure joy spread across Leo's face. He quickly paid for his meal and rushed over to his roommates. Seeing his expression, Sean smiled. Looks like she accepted. But this is just the beginning. I know, Leo nodded. For him, just being able to add the fairy senior on his messaging app was cause for celebration. After a full day of classes, everyone was visibly exhausted and didn't even have time for dinner. Except for Henry, who was energized by the prospect of a date. It was almost 8 o'clock, but the mall closed at 10, so there was still plenty of time to hang out. Seeing Dave and Leo getting ready to head back to the dorm, Henry asked, "Aren't you guys coming with me?" "What?" The previously exhausted Dave was instantly revived. "We can come too." "Yeah, Bella said one of her roommates is coming along, so she told me to bring my roommates too." "My man." Dave threw an arm around Henry's shoulder, ready to be the ultimate wingman. "I'll pass," Sean said, uninterested in such things. He headed back to the dorm alone. "Me too," Leo started to say, but Dave pulled him along, whispering conspiratorially, "Leo, you have to come. Stick with your big brother Dave and watch how I work my magic with the ladies. You need to learn." The offer piqued Leo's interest. Meanwhile, Stella was back in her dorm room, grabbing some daily necessities she hadn't taken to the faculty apartment. Now, only she and Chloe lived in the room. The other two roommates, one starting a business and the other doing an internship, had both moved out. Chloe came from a wealthy family, so she was still enjoying a carefree life. After packing, Stella sat on a chair, resting her chin in her hands, lost in thought. That little stutterer had added her, but he hadn't sent a single message yet. "You're the one who added me, and now you expect me to message first?" Stella opened her chat with Leo and sent the first message. "Who is this?" Leo's phone was in his pocket. He was at the mall, intently watching Dave's attempts to flirt. The long-legged Bella was, of course, gorgeous, but her roommate was even more stunning. It was Tanya Tang, the freshman campus beauty, and the girl Leo had a crush on for 3 years of high school. This was so awkward. He shouldn't have come. The two girls were clearly dressed up, one in denim shorts showing off her long legs, the other in a delicate dress looking like a little fairy. They turned a lot of heads as they walked. But flanking the two girls were Henry, the muscle-bound man Mountain, and Dave, who looked a bit shifty. Leo trailed beside Dave, his head down, silent. This group of 2 girls and 3 guys discouraged any other men from approaching. Hearing the notification sound, Leo pulled out his phone and saw Stella's message. The fairy senior was asking who he was. Right? She didn't know him yet. This was his first online conversation with her, and Leo's heart was pounding. He typed a reply. "It's Leo." Then he felt that was too formal. Recalling the extent of her popularity he'd witnessed, he added another line. "I'm a fan of yours." Seeing the message, a slight smile touched Stella's lips as her slender fingers danced across the screen. "Stella, I'm not a celebrity. I don't need fans." Reading that, Leo's heart sank. She doesn't need fans. Did that mean she didn't need him? Was he about to be deleted? He froze, unsure how to reply. Stella saw that he hadn't replied and wondered if she had scared the little stutterer off. The next moment, she received a message on her other app. "Leo," screenshot of their chat. "Leo, Chloe, I think I'm doomed." Seeing this, Stella couldn't hold it in any longer and let out a small laugh. "What is it? What's so funny?" Chloe, who had been playing a game, looked over. "Stella, what's up with you? You're actually smiling at your phone. You've been acting so strange lately." Chloe stood behind Stella, her game completely forgotten. "We're already in our 3rd year. Don't tell me the old tree is finally blossoming." "You guess," Stella said with a mysterious smile. Seeing her roommate's expression, Chloe put down her phone and exclaimed, "Something's up. Something is definitely up." Her intense curiosity had nowhere to go, and Chloe was about to go crazy. Stella ignored her and continued messaging Leo on the other app. "LovesHotpot, she's just like that. If she accepted your friend request, it means she's willing to get to know you." "Leo, really?" "LovesHotpot, really? I'm her roommate. I know her very well." It was a sentence filled with sincerity, without a single lie. Soon, another message from Leo popped up on her main messaging app. This freshman was truly innocent. Seeing Leo staring at his phone, his fingers tapping away, Bella asked curiously, "Are you chatting with your girlfriend?" "Huh? No." When talking to other girls, Leo didn't seem so childish. In fact, he had a subtle, charming demeanor. "A guy as handsome as you doesn't have a girlfriend?" Bella said playfully. Then, she pulled Tanya over. "Leo, I don't think anyone wants to be single. They just haven't met the right person. Look at my Tanya. Great figure, beautiful face, good grades. Are you sure you're not even a little bit tempted?" Suddenly being pulled into the conversation, Tanya seemed a bit shy. She blinked, her long lashes fluttering, and lowered her head. "Leo, long time no see." Anyone else would think she was just shy, but only Leo knew that she was probably just as awkward as he was right now. "Leo, what's going on?" Dave's eyes were practically bulging out of their sockets. Bella just blinked, clearly aware that Tanya and Leo already knew each other. Back in their dorm, she had heard all about it from Tanya. A boy had confessed to her after their college entrance exams. To be honest, Tanya had some feelings for him too, but she didn't know how to respond. She had heard that Leo was an orphan and assumed his family might not be well off, so she had spent the whole summer undecided. But if Leo showed potential in college, she might give him a chance to pursue her. At that moment, Leo noticed something strange on her eyelid and couldn't help but ask, "What's that on your eye?" "Huh? What?" Tanya asked, surprised. Just then, Dave pulled Leo aside and whispered, "Leo, have you never heard of eyelid tape?" "What? You can fake that." Leo was astonished. "Have you? Have you never had a female friend to tell you these basic things?" Seeing Leo's clueless expression, Dave sighed. "Never mind. Leo, don't say anything for a while. I think Bella is trying to set you up with Tanya. Just watch your big brother Dave and see how I help you get the girl." "Don't." Leo shook his head firmly. "Don't set us up." "What? Leo, are you blind? That's Tanya Tang, the freshman campus beauty. A girl that gorgeous, and you're telling me you're not interested?" Dave was on the verge of losing his mind, wanting to pry open Leo's head to see what was inside that he could be so uninterested in a beautiful girl. On Leo's phone was the last message from Stella, saying she was working on student council business and would chat later. Working so late. The senior must be working really hard. Leo sent a message back, telling her that if work got too stressful, he could play games with her to relax. Guaranteed wins. Leo didn't expect a reply, but she actually sent back a simple, "Okay." So, the senior liked to play games too. A common interest. That was important. As for how Leo knew this, it was Chloe Cheen who had told him. She had said that to get to know a girl, you first need to find common ground. As Stella's roommate, she often saw her playing games in their dorm. She also said that Stella always played solo and kept losing because she had no one to play with. That's why Leo had offered to carry her to victory. He was so grateful to Chloe Cheen for giving him all this insider information. In her dorm room, Chloe, who was in the middle of a game, suddenly sneezed. "Strange, who's been thinking about me lately? Why do I keep sneezing?" A moment later, the word defeat flashed across her phone screen. Another loss. Chloe wanted to smash her phone. Stella, watching her fuming, asked, "Chloe, want to play a game later? Are you going to carry me?" Chloe's eyes lit up. "No, my account got banned. If you're not playing, can I borrow yours?" "Of course, my invincible god-tier carry." Chloe had been on a losing streak all day. A free carry was an offer she couldn't refuse. Back at the mall, Leo and his friends emerged, carrying several shopping bags. Dave and Henry looked pained. Dinner at the mall had cost them 500 yuan, and then another 500 on shopping with the girls. Of course, the two guys had paid, and they had offered to. When you take beautiful girls out, you can't let them pay. As for Leo, he had only split the cost of the meal. The shopping had nothing to do with him, since he had no intention of trying to impress either of the girls. He just didn't understand why Dave and Henry looked like they'd eaten something foul. It was only a few hundred yuan. Although he grew up with his aunt and uncle ran a successful company in the capital. That's how they could afford to raise a multi-degree-holding young doctor like Mason. Leo's parents had died young, heroes who had sacrificed their lives as police officers. They were the pride of the family. The family had doted on him, his aunt and uncle treating him like their own son. So, despite losing his parents, he had never lacked for love and wasn't poor. Plus, he earned his own money from writing novels, so he rarely asked his family for an allowance. They walked back to the university. The three guys walked the two girls back to their dorm. The whole way, Tanya intentionally or unintentionally walked beside Leo, constantly peeking at his phone screen, curious about who he was chatting with. At the dorm entrance, Tanya and Bella bid them a warm farewell. Bella even called out, "Next time, remember to bring the other handsome guy from your dorm." "No problem. You can count on me," Henry and Dave replied, full of energy, as if they'd just had a shot of adrenaline. Leo watched them, baffled. "So this is the game you were going to teach me, Dave? Even if I don't know much, I can see you're being led by the nose." The two girls' figures faded into the distance. Dave threw an arm around Leo's shoulder and grinned. "So, did you learn anything?" "Sorry," Leo said, pushing him away with a cold expression. "I'm not interested in learning how to be a simp." "What did you say?" "Leo, are you getting cocky?" Dave said indignantly. "If you don't have the courage to be a simp, how will you ever find true love?" Hearing this, Henry stared at him in shock. Has this simp completely lost his mind? Regardless of how you looked at it, that one shopping trip with the two girls had cost Dave and Henry a quarter of their monthly allowance. They were probably going to be eating dirt by the end of the month. The thought of it left them dejected when they got back to the dorm. Henry immediately flopped onto his bed and started texting Bella. The money couldn't be spent in vain. He had to keep the girl interested. Strike while the iron is hot, build the connection. Dave had also added Tanya's contact information and sent her a greeting. But she hadn't replied at all. Dave found it strange. Was she busy? In the dorm, Sean watched them and silently shook his head. Simps never win. Then, his gaze shifted to Leo. He felt that Leo and Stella Su had a real shot. It was a gut feeling. Stella was the cold campus queen, yet by a twist of fate, she had ended up singing a duet with Leo. Usually, situations like that were fate's way of playing matchmaker. Dave. And today, he had personally witnessed Leo add Stella to his contacts, and it seemed she had accepted. This clearly meant something was there. Thinking this, Sean sat on his bed and let out a laugh. Sean Shun, was clearly the one with the highest emotional intelligence. His predictions were always spot on. He was like a detective, holding the script to everyone's lives. The other three roommates looked at Sean, who had suddenly burst out laughing, as if he were an idiot. Dave, moron. Henry, has he gone crazy? Leo, what just happened? Just then, Leo's phone buzzed. It was a message from the fairy senior. Leo opened the chat. The fairy senior said she was done with her work and asked when he was free to play games with her. The answer to that was obviously right now. Then, Stella sent him her game ID. The name was, I am the boss, you do you. Huh. Leo stared at the name, lost in thought. The fairy senior had such a contrasting personality in games, choosing a name like that. Maybe she was the type who was cold in real life, but outgoing online. In the girls' dorm, Stella blushed as she looked at the name and muttered to Chloe, shameless. Chloe, confused, looked up. Then she puffed out her chest and asked, why are you insulting me? I've always had this name. You never had a problem with it before. She then noticed that Stella was in a two-person game lobby, but didn't think much of it. Besides her, Stella had another close friend at the medical university. She probably was playing with her. And Stella had even put on her headset and was using her mic to give directions. Chloe was now certain she was playing with her best friend. After all, to get the socially anxious online Stella to speak, it had to be someone she knew well. Although Stella had her mic on, she spoke very little, maintaining her cool and detached style. But for Leo, it was more than enough. Just hearing the fairy senior's voice filled him with a sense of contentment and happiness. This was probably how all boys felt when they liked a girl, easily satisfied. Leo played support. He was better at jungling, but the fairy senior had asked him to play support. Speaking of which, the fairy senior's playstyle was very similar to Chloe Chen's. They must be close roommates to be so in sync. They played 5 games that night and only lost 1. Leo remarked, Senior, you're not bad at the game, not like Chloe said. Hearing his voice through her headset, Stella said softly, I'm not bad. Much better than Chloe. Chloe, who was scrolling through videos nearby, was suddenly called out. She sat up and flailed her arms. Stella, I feel like you're insulting me. Her voice was loud enough to carry through Stella's headset to Leo. Hearing Chloe's lively voice, he smiled. Chloe's personality is different from how she is online too. Do all girls have 2 faces? You could say that, Stella said flatly. Although the fairy senior spoke in a cold tone, she answered every one of his questions seriously. This meant he was now her friend. Otherwise, given her rumored personality, she would have ignored him completely. Now that he had gotten this far, Leo wondered if he should ask her out for a meal. What would be a good excuse? Thinking of this, he opened his chat with Chloe Chen on the other app and asked, Chloe, if I ask Stella out for a meal, do you think she'll agree? Seeing the message, Stella paused to think, then replied, You've known me for this long, and you're going to ask her out first? Reading that, Leo froze. Right. He had known Chloe online for a while now. They had played so many games together, and now they were coincidentally at the same university. By all rights, he should ask Chloe out first. Leo, well, but isn't it weird for a guy and a girl to meet alone? Stella replied, It won't be just us. Don't you want to see Stella? I'll bring her along. But you can't bring any friends. Stella has social anxiety. Leo, okay. He added 3 exclamation marks to express his excitement, then asked, Are you free tomorrow night? I know a really good restaurant. It was the same one Dave and Henry had taken the 2 girls to. LovesHotpot, not free tomorrow. Leo, oh? LovesHotpot. Stella is usually busy, but she's free on the weekend. Leo, no problem. Got it. LovesHotpot. You're new to Jiangxing and don't know your way around. Let me treat you. Consider it payment for carrying me. And Stella, to a higher rank. Leo, I couldn't possibly. LovesHotpot. It's settled. After ending the chat, Leo was in a great mood. Playing games and chatting with the person you like was such a happy feeling. But he'd always heard that love makes people stupid. He didn't feel that way. He felt incredibly smart right now. Filled with anticipation, Leo drifted off to sleep. The dorm room was filled with the sound of Henry's snores and Dave's sleep-talking. Soon, the weekend arrived. Leo snuck out without his roommates knowing and went to a salon across from the university to get his hair styled. Because he didn't know how to do it himself. As for why he had to be so secretive, he didn't want to make a big deal out of it before he knew the outcome. After all, the person he was meeting was the cold campus queen of Jiangxing University. He couldn't afford any mistakes. More importantly, from his observations, everyone in his dorm except Sean was all talk and no game when it came to flirting. Asking them for advice would be worse than doing it himself. They would only cause trouble. Leo had the stylist give him a 70-30 side part, which made his already handsome face look even sunnier. He looked like a bright, cheerful young man. He was also coaxed into buying a membership card by the stylist and left the small salon with a warm send-off. This was the first weekend after the freshman training ended. Everyone knew what that meant. Hormones that had been brewing during training and upperclassmen who had been waiting for their chance to ask out the freshmen all seemed to converge at the school gate today. You could see couples everywhere, as well as small groups of 7 or 8, men and women, laughing and talking. Leo suddenly felt a pang of nervousness. It wasn't that he had never gone out with a girl before, but the only time he had gone out with just one girl was when he went shopping with his aunt. Leo sent a message to Chloe Chen on the other app, but she didn't reply. He then sent a message to Stella Su on his main messaging app, but she didn't reply either. What was going on? Was he being stood up? Leo squatted on the ground, staring at the unresponsive chat screen, a dejected look on his face. But he wouldn't blame Chloe or Stella. They were third-year students, and Stella was the president of the student council. It was normal for them to be caught up in other things. He was just sad about it. But then, he heard a soft beep beside him. Leo looked up to see a pink, compact electric car parked in front of him, its hazard lights flashing. Just as he was wondering what was going on, LovesHotpot replied, "Get in." 2 words popped up on his screen. Leo looked at the pink car in surprise. This was Chloe's car? No wonder she hadn't replied. She was driving. A small thrill went through him. With a racing heart, he opened the passenger door of the car. Inside, there was only one person, Stella Su, sitting in the driver's seat. Leo immediately tensed up, stuttering, "FAI. Stella, where's Chloe? She had something to do, but she didn't want to stand you up, so she asked me to come." Hearing this, Leo gave a mental thumbs up to Chloe Chin. "Thank you, Chloe. My life is so much more exciting because of you." A certain Chloe sneezed in her dorm room. He was so nervous that he failed to notice the most crucial detail. If Chloe wasn't even in the car, why was the message he just received from LovesHotpot? Being this close to the fairy senior again, Leo's mind had gone completely blank. He took back what he'd thought last night. Love really does make you stupid. And this was just a one-sided crush. If he ever actually started dating her, would he just be a babbling mess in her presence? Stella was wearing a khaki-colored vintage-style long dress today, with light makeup, mainly just a touch of lipstick. It was a known fact that Stella never wore makeup. In the car, neither of them spoke. Just like that day they took shelter from the rain, it was Leo who broke the silence. "Stella, is this your car?" "Yes, I just bought it. It wasn't expensive." She had saved up for 2 years from her part-time jobs to buy this 40,000 yuan electric car. As a computer science prodigy from a top university, it wasn't that difficult for her to earn that much money in 2 years. Stella was a steady driver. The famous ice queen of Jiangxing University was no different from any other girl when she was driving. She drove very carefully, her eyes constantly shifting between the road ahead and the side and rearview mirrors. Seeing this, Leo asked nervously, "Senior, are you?" "Yes, I got my license last week. This is my first time driving on the road." Hearing this, Leo's mouth twitched. If the driver wasn't the fairy senior, he would have been shouting to get out of the car. He had been in a car with his aunt once. It had ended in a crash. He was fine, but his aunt had to stay in the hospital for half a month. The experience had terrified him so much that he never dared to ride in his aunt's car again. "Stella. How about? I drive." At his words, the car pulled over to the side of the road. Stella opened her door, walked around the front of the car, and was already standing by the passenger door. Leo hesitantly opened his door and got out. Stella quickly got into the passenger seat and fastened her seatbelt. Her movements were swift and decisive. It was as if the moment she heard his offer, she had practically fled to the passenger seat. After Leo got into the driver's seat, Stella asked, as if nothing had happened, "You have a license?" "Yes. I got it over the summer." Stella sat beside him, exuding a scent that captivated him. On the steering wheel, there were faint, damp handprints. It was most likely nervous sweat. The fairy senior must have been a nervous wreck driving from the faculty apartment to the school gate. No wonder she had so readily switched seats. Leo was a good driver, and with Stella sitting right next to him, his skills seemed to level up. Following the navigation, Leo drove to a park. Jiangxing Park. After parking, Leo asked, confused, "Senior, why are we here?" Stella glanced at him. "It's 3 in the afternoon. Are we just going to go straight to dinner without finding something to do to pass the time?" Leo was taken aback. She had a point. Then, Stella asked, "Do you always stutter?" "No." Leo finally realized that he had been stuttering ever since he got in the car. Coming back to his senses, he cleared his throat and said, "No, it's just my first time out alone with a girl. I'm a little nervous." Hearing this, Stella said nothing. The fact that he could correct himself after realizing it meant he wasn't really a stutterer, just subconsciously nervous around her. Just a little boy who hasn't been around girls much. They walked side by side in the park. The handsome young couple created a beautiful scene against the already pleasant atmosphere. There was a subtle distance between them. It wasn't Stella who had created it. On the contrary, it was Leo. It was his first time walking with a girl, and they didn't know each other well. In his view, maintaining a respectful distance was appropriate. Unlike Dave and Henry, who were overly friendly on their first meeting, Leo didn't like that approach. Of course, that didn't mean Dave and Henry were wrong. It was just a difference in personality and how they interacted with people. Leo preferred to take things slow. He believed that a relationship built over time would be stronger. But in this fast-paced era, few people were willing to take it slow with him. He wouldn't change himself for that reason, though. After all, it was just rare, not non-existent. If he waited, someone would eventually be willing to take it slow with him. The weather was beautiful today, unlike their first meeting in the pouring rain. Just a few days ago, Leo couldn't have even imagined walking in a park with the fairy senior. He had to thank Chloe for this. It was all thanks to her. In the park, they passed by a small ice cream truck. Leo asked, "Stella, do you want some ice cream?" He regretted it the moment he asked. Last night, in preparation for their first official meeting, he had looked up a lot of tips. One of them was crucial. When buying something for a girl, don't ask if she wants it, just buy it for her. But Stella was a bit unconventional. When she heard his question, she raised an eyebrow and said, "You want some? Okay, my treat." Her one sentence completely threw Leo off. And Stella, without looking back, walked straight to the ice cream truck. It seemed she didn't have much experience with guys either. Her actions were a bit stiff. Before Leo could refuse, Stella had already bought the ice cream. "I didn't know what flavor you like, so I got vanilla and chocolate. Which one do you want?" Leo hesitated, unable to decide between the two cones in her hands. He liked chocolate, but vanilla seemed good too. Seeing his indecision, Stella asked, "What's your star sign?" "Libra." "No wonder. What about you, senior?" "Scorpio." "No wonder." Although the senior was reserved, their conversation flowed surprisingly well during their first official meeting. Seeing Leo still hesitating, Stella simply shoved the chocolate ice cream into his hand, because she preferred vanilla. As they walked, Leo unconsciously slowed his pace, falling a step behind the fairy senior. He pulled out his phone and quickly snapped a photo of her back. Then, with a satisfied smile, he quickened his pace to walk beside her again. Stella glanced at him, but said nothing. She had used the reflection on her dark phone screen to see him sneaking behind her to take a picture. It was just a picture of her back, so she didn't mind. The fact that he was so careful about taking a picture of her back meant he had probably never taken a picture of her face. He just wanted a photo of her back to cherish, like a small animal hiding a precious treasure. She didn't understand what was so special about a picture where you couldn't even see the face. She was wearing a long dress today, not even showing her legs. What was there to photograph about her back? But seeing Leo's delighted expression, Stella found herself growing curious. Why could a picture of her back make him so happy? If he got a picture of her face, or even a picture with her, would he be over the moon? She recalled the second message he had sent her, saying he was her fan. He really was like a proper little fan. Suddenly, Leo's phone buzzed. It was a message in their dorm group chat. "Dave at Leo, where are you, kid? Dave, you're new here, you don't know your way around. Are you out alone on the weekend? Sean, something's up Henry. Image Dave. You son of a gun. A purebred son of a gun. You went on a date with the beautiful Bella." Reading the lively chat, Leo turned off his phone. It was better to pretend he hadn't seen any of it. He couldn't really explain his current situation anyway. But from the looks of it, their dorm's gym coach was completely smitten by the long-legged girl. They were eating together every few days and hanging out on the weekend. He'd be the first to not believe it if they didn't end up together. But they had known each other for less than a month. Maybe Leo was just too innocent. He had first met the fairy senior on the first day of school, and he had only just added her on his messaging app. Of course, Stella had first met him the day before school started and had even gotten him sent to the police station, but he didn't know about that. They couldn't just wander around the park for an entire afternoon. After they had walked through most of it, Stella took Leo to a cafe for afternoon tea. To be honest, Leo didn't know what afternoon tea was for. 3 meals a day, why add another one? But now, watching the fairy senior sit across from him, a cup of coffee on the table, a thought sparked in his mind. He couldn't help but admire her inwardly. The fairy senior has so much class. "What do you want to drink?" Stella put on her black-rimmed glasses, took out a copy of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes from her bag, and started reading. I'm not used to coffee," Leo said meekly. There was also a plate of small cakes and some nuts on the table. Leo had been staring at the menu for a while, but the senior looked so beautiful with her glasses on, he couldn't tear his eyes away. In the end, Leo decided to have the same thing as her. Seeing this, Stella said flatly, "It's very bitter. I didn't add any sugar." "I don't mind," Leo said confidently. "I love bitter things." "Are you a Sherlock Holmes fan, senior?" Leo asked curiously. "No," Stella said, her eyes still on her book. Leo discreetly glanced at her black-rimmed glasses. They seemed to be just frames, with no lenses. Noticing this, Leo asked, "Then you must be a fan of the little detective from that anime, right?" "Oh, what makes you say that?" Stella was intrigued. Seeing her reaction, Leo knew he had guessed correctly. They're the same glasses as the little detective. Plus, you're reading this book even though you don't like Sherlock Holmes. I'm guessing you're reading it because the little detective is a fan of Sherlock Holmes. Stella nodded silently. He wasn't wrong. The reason Leo could guess was because he used to be a big fan of that anime himself. After all, both his parents were police officers. He had also read all the Sherlock Holmes novels because the little detective was a huge fan. "There is always only one truth," Leo suddenly said. His eyes narrowed in a serious expression, mimicking the famous line. Stella was taken aback. The waitress who was bringing their coffee was trying hard not to laugh. Leo awkwardly retracted his hand and scratched the back of his head. Couldn't help it. Couldn't help it. "This guy? He's kinda cute." Stella smiled to herself and returned her attention to her book. Leo took a sip of the coffee. His eyebrows immediately knitted together. "So bitter," Stella said to the waitress next to them. "2 packets of sugar, please." Hearing this, Leo quickly shook his head. "Senior, it's okay. I can handle it." Stella looked at him, her expression unchanging. "If you can't handle bitter, then drink it sweet. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Just be yourself." Hearing this, Leo stared at Stella, dazed. The fairy senior's eyelashes were so long, and she was so beautiful. She might seem cold, but she was actually a very gentle person. After adding 2 packets of sugar, Leo stirred the coffee and took another sip. The coffee was bitter, but with sugar, it could also be very sweet. It was delicious. Leo gulped it down. Stella didn't say anything, just continued to read her book. The afternoon passed quietly. As dusk approached, Stella closed her book. Leo had fallen asleep, his head resting on the table. This little stutterer, he was clearly bored out of his mind, but didn't say a word. He just ended up falling asleep at the table. Stella didn't wake him. A mischievous idea popped into her head. She took out her phone and snapped a picture of Leo's sleeping face. Leo's eyes were gently closed, his eyelashes fluttering slightly. He was lost in a sea of dreams, like a carefree youth hidden among flowers. Looking at the picture of Leo, Stella murmured, "He's not bad looking." Then, she sent the picture to Mason, who was abroad. Soon, he replied with a question mark. "Mason?" Then, he replied again. "Wait, my beloved student, why is my little brother asleep in front of you? I asked you to look after him, not to hit on him, right?" Seeing this reply, Stella fell silent for a moment, then closed the chat. She looked at the innocent freshman before her, a thoughtful expression on her face. Hit on him. This little thing, it would probably be very interesting to hit on him, wouldn't it?